Dr. Jagdeo, Michael Rodriguez for Daybreak News. To the cash grant, a lot of people might have fallen out of the net of registration, being out of the country, fishermen at sea and so on. What is going to be in place to deal with those persons? A lot of people are asking the question.
If you miss the number of days that those registering people were in your community, you would have another opportunity. We're going to make sure that we announce a supplementary kind of approach, or people may be able to go to the post office, wherever. But you're not going to lose the money if you didn't get an opportunity to register. For example, you're busy on that day or those days, you're out of the country or you're at sea or somewhere else. So the fishermen and the others don't have to worry, or the miners. For example, if you're a miner and you miss the area, you don't have to worry about that. Yes.
Circling back to the cash grant, what systems are in place for persons who would have registered locally, but for some reason they had to leave the jurisdiction while the checks are being shared out and so on?
Well, the checks would be cut. We're not going to take back the checks. So when they come back, hopefully they're coming back, right? Or are they coming back? These are coming back. Because the idea now is to give the people whose photo is on the registration form the checks. So we don't get a dead man collecting it, etc. Like APNU just waiting for one person of the 600 or 700,000 persons. They're waiting for one screw up, and then they would make that as though that is the whole thing. So we're going to make sure that people get their money. The idea is, though, once you register in your Guyanese, we're not begrudging our people or trying to shove them. We're making sure if they're Guyanese, they will get it. They will get it. Okay? So if you know the person and they come back, we'll arrange. Once they could go online too, maybe, and verify. Maybe we'd put that. You could actually, might be a good idea. You can go online, they take your picture online to see you're the real person, and then you can get your check posted to you. That might be a good thing. The idea just came across my head. If he is abroad now, he or she. Yeah. Anything else? If not, thank you very much. Oh, you go? Okay. All right, go ahead, yeah. They APNU and AFC had a press conference today. They didn't? Oh, they've been hiding a lot. And they're doing this wickedness with their access in and all of that. So you can't ask them tough questions.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon again. This is in relation to the cash grant again. As it relates to some homeless persons out on the road, I mean, some of them may have ID. Is there any provisions in place for them to get registered and receive the cash grant as well?
If you're home, it doesn't say you have to have an address. I think the key thing is your face and your identification. So not if you register in Myconi, you have to have a specific address like what APNU want. I don't know how we're gonna deal with this, the homeless. That's something we can think about, but they're eligible. But we'd probably have to find a way of, I don't know how, but think through that. Once we get through the getting most people. And I don't want people to rip off the homeless people too. You know, you have a good set of Guyanese. Next thing you have my Paul collecting all these homeless people and stuff like that. I'm bringing them in. I don't trust my Paul to collect these homeless people.
With respect to the cash grants, what new approaches or methods will be used to distribute the grant checks in an orderly manner, especially in the densely populated regions of the country, not only confined to teachers, but the wider population?
The better distribution. So I agree. I saw this situation with some public servants and teachers, and it should have never happened. And we need to devise in the ministries better ways of communicating with people. So if you are, there was a rush to try to get the checks out before the end of the year to as many people as possible, particularly the public servants. So often when people register, they then have to move to verification, and then the checks are cut. So as they were verifying, they were cutting the checks. So if they finish a batch of verification, they cut the checks. So that meant maybe in a ministry, you may have like 80% of the checks cut, and whilst the 20% have gone for verification. What happened is that they invited everyone out. And they said, come and collect. So the 20% of people who did not have their checks cut for that day, they showed up too in some cases. And they were disappointed, and it should have never happened. We should have had a better system to identify those and only invite those in. So we've spoken with the Ministry of Finance, and they have to move to a better system or have a more conscientious way of approaching it by the managers of the different agencies. So I agree that there may have been issues with people waiting too long and all of that. So that's a fair comment. It's a fair comment. And we do have to find ways of getting the distribution better. In the hinterland, they do more of the by villages and stuff. So it went more smoothly there. But if you have teachers coming from different places, etc., and then accumulated at a single spot, it leads to confusion at that spot. You could have done it in maybe a more dispersed fashion. So we need to do that. We need to make sure that we go as closest to where people are living and it's convenient to them as far as possible. So that's a fair comment.
This question is in line with the cash grants and the amount of persons that would have received so far. My question is it in line or expectations with the government's expectation, the amount of persons that would have received so far?
So I'm pleased that they actually registered 366,000. Remember, we made provisions in the supplementary for 300,000, right? Where it's $30 billion. So they've registered 366,000 persons. They've cut 245,000 checks so far. So I anticipate by the end of the year, they'll be able to cut 300,000 checks. 100,000 persons have received the checks so far. So we will have between the beginning of the year to about February, when hopefully the budget would be passed, to deliver these checks to people, the remainder that were cut but not delivered as yet. And then in that very same period, we'd be able to register people from the other 5 regions. So once the budget is passed, we'll put the additional sum of money in the budget, if it's 30 billion or 35 billion, whatever it is, in the budget, so that we'd be able to cut checks immediately thereafter the budget is passed for the remaining numbers of people. That's how we are planning it out.